All right, now we're moving forward to the AFC South, which, like I said, is this the worst division in football?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
you literally did not even hesitate to answer that question.
Division.
We're going in with the Titans first. There's like one guy we can talk about on the Titans.
Hello, Derrick.
Hi, Derrick. How are you? Give me 90 seconds on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, big ground pie, 51% rushes to 49% passes. And I think, 70% of that almost goes to Derrick Henry, 364 carries. He was on pace for like 430 last year. And sure, he got hurt, but like, you had Derrick Henry.
But he was awesome. I mean, he was awesome before he got hurt.
He averaged more fantasy points per game than Jonathan Taylor. He was on pace to finish as the RB1 for the season. He's like the exception to the targets rule. And he did start to see his targets get bumped up a little bit. Like by bumped up, I mean, he was at about 30. Right. So, for him, that's a big thing though. Any extra usage for Henry. And I still, to this day, I've always said it. I don't understand why he doesn't get more passing game, because I've seen, how many times have we seen him take a screen and just steamroll? Don't
you just want the ball in his hands in any possible way you can get it there? Like you just want the ball in his hands. It's like, I know he's not like Tyreek Hill, but like, it's like you want the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands. So you throw him like a 1 yard bubble screen or something and see what happens. I don't understand why that doesn't happen more with Derrick Henry. I agree.
It 100% should. But yeah, I mean, it's typical stat line for him, as long as he's healthy, 1674, 16 touchdowns, with an added, like, I think he'll score one of those screens I was just talking about where he just catches one and goes 70 yards and nobody can tackle him. That should happen far more often than it does. I hope they start to dial him up. I'm not very confident that they will. So Henry, obviously you love him. He's still a top 7 guy for me on the big board overall. Top 5 running back for me overall.
But God, look at that receiving core.
It's ugly. I mean, yeah. So getting to the aerial pie, and I was actually, we'll start with Tannehill just because he ended up coming up as a top 20 running back in my projections. I think I had him at like 29th on my big board.
You didn't. So you said running back. You didn't mean as a rusher, right? You meant as
a quarterback.
Okay.
But I think that was a Freudian slip because he's run for 5 to 6 touchdowns every year he's been with the Titans. So I put him in there for 6 touchdowns. He is very slippery in the red zone. He's sneaky athletic. Remember, he's a converted receiver. So he's not a Konami necessarily, but he's a Konami at the end zone. So I do like him to score. 6 might be a little aggressive. I might take that down to like 4 or 5. But again, 5 touchdowns or more in all his seasons with the Titans. So I'll keep it at 5. I like that projection right there. As you can see, very unimpressive passing, 3,600 to 3,700-ish, 23 touchdowns and 12. There was 2 years ago where he was just an absolute machine, but he also had significantly better weepons at that point. You look at the aerial pie, though, and I will say one guy that surprised me with how he came out with is Robert Woods. So, 16% to Treylon Burks, 23% to Woods, 13% to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. If this high, also 15% going to Austin Hooper, one of my favorite sleeper tight ends. So to me, this team kind of defines like unsexy upside. Robert Woods always kind of been a poster boy for unsexy upside, but 118 targets are 118 targets. That's nothing to scoff at. And he ends up finishing in the top 30 wide receivers for me in this projection of 947 and 5 touchdowns with 77 catches. I love him at his like 10th round price right now as a wide receiver 4 or 5. That's just he's kind of like Jarvis Landry, that type of guy that just isn't ever wowing you, but he's got a meaningful path to a lot of volume. Like Treylon Burks has that AJ Brown, like I could be the big Deebo Samuel, all these comparisons. Maybe that's him. I don't buy it. The guy can't even stay on the practice field already. He's having asthma, and a lot of people, that's the Jamar Chase drops of last year is Treylon Burks' asthma. I think that's a little bit different if you can't actually run on an NFL field. So we will see if that fixes up for training camp and he's out there and he's looking as explosive as ever. I'll kind of flip those and say 118 go to Burks and 82 go to Woods, and those guys, Burks will do a whole lot more with whatever targets he does because he is a very explosive player coming out of college. But I am definitely lower on him than consensus right now, given that you just can't stay on the field. And I mentioned Austin Hooper. 77 targets is actually pretty good for a tight end. They're saying him and Tannehill are having a very good rapport already. Last time we had Hooper get a nice rapport was with Matt Ryan when he finished as a top 8 tight end. So I do think that, I have him statted out as a top 20 tight end, maybe cracking that top 15 as a guy that goes in your last round. So tight end too. There's certainly later round tight ends that I like more. Evan Ingram we'll talk about in a little bit, and I know you'll probably throw up when I do. But I don't mind.
I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. This is such a terrible division.
It's so bad.
I know you're talking about specific players, and I'm just looking at the logos at the top of the screen, and I'm just like, wow, one of those teams is going to win this division.
I actually kind of like the Colts. When we get
we're going to talk about the Colts. You like the Colts a lot more than I do, but man, they're getting 6 games against those 3 teams, so
they probably will win.
Probably have a decent record and probably put up some numbers in some of those games.
The Titans do always play teams tough, though. Remember, they beat the Bills, they beat the Chiefs. Yeah. Like
they were better, but they were better then. Come on, like
they did. Yeah, they had AJ Brown, Julio Jones. I mean, they definitely had better talent for sure last year than what they have right now. Right. Absolutely. Well, what is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments. Check out some more videos and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.